If you have ever had to deal with variable income, you know how challenging it can be to budget, which is why we're helping this mom who wrote, "My husband and I both work, but we feel like we're guessing half the time when it comes to our budget. His income is all over the place. He works in construction, so it really depends on the season and the jobs he gets. I work part-time at a clinic, which is more steady, but my hours and paycheck can take a hit if one of the kids gets sick or if I have to take them to appointments." I can totally understand that. "I'm trying to figure out how to budget when our income keeps shifting, and honestly, when there's not enough to cover everything. How do you even decide what to prioritize? We're not big spenders, but it feels like we're always behind." So I think that a lot of other moms can really relate to your situation. In fact, there was a season of my life where my husband, he wasn't in construction, but he did have a very seasonal job like that where he would get a contract and he would work for a little bit and it would be really busy and crazy. And then he had to wait to see if a new contract would be extended to him. So yeah, it's really hard, and really knowing how to approach your budget during this huge influx and variation can be really challenging. So I think that this is going to be a great discussion today. So let's go ahead and start first with identifying your must-pay expenses. So these are going to be your big things that are going to provide stability, safety, and security for your family. So the things that are going to keep a roof over your head, food on the table, your utilities working, you being able to get to your job, like transportation. Now, one thing with food, I will say, for me, I feel like food is actually one of the lower items on the, stability, safety, security list, because there's certain things that you could decrease in your grocery budget. You could live on rice and beans. Would it be amazing? No. Would it really suck? Yes. Would you decrease your lifestyle? Absolutely. And depending on the season that you are in, you might also be able to take advantage of food pantries in your area. Some food pantries, they don't check income limits. You don't have to fill out an application. You just have to show up. So that's why I would rather you use food from a food pantry to put food on your table and pay your mortgage or rent, so that way you're not homeless. So having the other things in your budget being like when you have the extra income to be able to pay for those, then that's when you prioritize those next. Oh, and another thing is childcare. Childcare is part of that safety, stability, security for your family, because if you don't have childcare, you can't go work and you can't bring in an income. So those are going to be the first things that you're going to prioritize with your budget, especially as it, greatly fluctuates. And then you're going to prioritize any of the other bills that randomly come up, like things that you don't have every month or things that you don't necessarily need to pay because it's not one of those main categories. One thing that I started doing with our income and our expenses and the way that we approach budgeting is to use the month ahead budgeting approach, which I really like because then it also builds in that extra month for your 3 to 6 month savings plan kind of automatically. And so that is where any income you earn in, let's say, July, you use for August's budget. And so it not only helps you budget down to the penny, which you should be kind of budgeting down to the penny anyway as a zero-based budget system, but it also helps you identify like, okay, this level of income is what came in this month. So then this is what our budget has to look like to reflect the income that came in. And it helps you better adjust your lifestyle as you go, instead of, let's say, if you're doing it by paycheck and you get a paycheck at the very beginning of the month, and then your next 3 paychecks are much, smaller, and you've, paid some other non-safety, security, stability expenses, thinking like, oh, I can rely on this next paycheck, and then it's not as big or it kind of falls through, then you've already spent certain expenses on things that are not going to provide that safety, stability for your family. Whereas if you knew how much money you were going to have at the beginning of the month, you could make those decisions at the beginning of the month that would then give you more longevity to the rest of the month to be able to adjust your lifestyle depending on what money came in, because you're budgeting a month ahead. Now, when we have been in a situation where our monthly income has been really low, this is actually when we go in and we backfill some of these expenses with our emergency savings. Now, because with our budget that we have experienced, and again, you probably are experiencing too, given the history of, or your situation anyway, is that because you'll have really high income months and then really low income months, on the really high income months, that's when you need to roll that money over into a savings account. account. So what I do is the way that I budget, again, if you're using my spreadsheets, is every single line item on my budget spreadsheet has a paired sinking fund. So I budget down to the penny, and then any money that's not used, then I roll that over into a savings account. Now for me, I use one simple savings account because I am of the opinion that I want all of my money together in a lump sum, because that way any interest, minute interest that I may be earning, it's at least compounding on each other than to have like, oh, I have one bank account over here for my savings account, and then I have one bank account over here for this sinking fund, and I have another bank account over here for this sinking fund. For me, it's like, okay, I have one bank account, I see the entire picture or number of what it is, and then in my spreadsheet, I classify out how much is going to all of my sinking funds on my spreadsheet. And that way, if I need to, move money around on my spreadsheets, I'm not also having to transfer money from one bank account to another bank account to a different bank, etc. So depending on what bank you have, sometimes they may let you do this under one bank account, but in separate like subcategories within still one main bank account. So you are earning that interest. Other banks may not allow you to do that. If you get to a month and you don't have enough, then you pull that money over from your savings account to backfill in those expenses. And one thing that you may need to do, since you have a very flexible income, is instead of having a 3 to 6 month savings, it may be better for you to kind of try and cushion up a 6 to 9 month savings, because your work is a little bit more volatile, just to provide extra safety and security for your family. Depending on where you guys live, like maybe it is a little bit more steady across the year, but maybe he's like waiting to get another contract renewed or, offered to him, like my husband was in his contract job. The other thing that you had said is that you do have kids, they do get sick, you have to take them to appointments. And I think because you are working part-time, you probably don't have, I'm guessing you probably don't have benefits, or if you do have benefits, you probably don't have a lot of PTO. And I think this is I think is what's so challenging about your situation, which I can completely relate, because we have found ourselves in several situations very similar to you, is that you have one person that is a really high income earner, but their job offers no benefits. And then you have another person who's maybe their job does offer benefits, but their hourly wage is rather low. And so it's like, okay, whose job do we like sacrifice if our kids need something or our kids need us? Because that will inevitably happen as a parent, that it's like, okay, do I sacrifice the hourly wage that we need from the high income earner because we need that to survive and live? Or do I sacrifice like the long-term longevity and stability of my job, going unpaid, but also possibly over the long term, sacrificing my like performance and the need that the reliability that we are putting on that job for the benefits of our family. I don't feel that I am in a place to give you to say like, oh, well, this is what you need to do and this is the one you need to prioritize. I think that would be ungenuine for me to do that. But I can say that I can definitely relate. And what we have decided to do, we look at the unique situation and variables. So like right now, the season of life that we are in, our jobs are opposite of each other as much as possible. So that way, one of us are like solely taking care of one of our kids. And in a very soon to be season, that's not going to be the case where we're both going to be working. And so we have talked about like, okay, if the circumstances of your job are this, then you're going to be the first response parent. But if the circumstance of my job is this, then I'm going to be the first response parent. And another thing that I have done is trying to make sure that all of our appointments that we're scheduling, now, of course, you can't like plan for your kids to get sick, but I will try and schedule my kids' appointments at the very first appointment of the day or the very last appointment of the day. So if, let's say, their last appointment is at 3, then I'm going to see if their first appointment that they have is like at 7 or at 8, because then I can work the most hours at my job. Maybe I lose a little bit of sleep. Maybe my kids end up a little bit extra tired that day, but I'm not losing as many hours with my employer to be able to get that appointment, which you might already be doing, but I do want to throw it out there for maybe if you're not, or for other moms that haven't really thought about like strategically scheduling their kids' appointments that way. So another thing that you had said is we're not big spenders. So I just want to like pat you on the back and like congratulate you here for a second, because for some people that find themselves in the situation that you guys are in, they already have lived a fairly extravagant lifestyle, and then to try and modify their lifestyle to be able to meet this new situation can be really challenging. And the fact that you already said we're not big spenders, you either have changed your lifestyle to meet this new situation. My dog's barking in the background. Or you just never have been. So I love the fact that you're already aware of that, and it sounds like you're already being pretty mindful about how you guys spend your money. Now, I think that we've already addressed some of the ways that when you had said like it feels like we're always behind. I really definitely think that that month ahead will help you feel like you have a little bit more stability and a little bit more control over what to expect. Now, I will say that one thing that can be super helpful with getting a month ahead is if you already have some set up in reserve. Like if you already have money in the bank account, then maybe it is enough to cover that first month of expenses, not anything else extravagant, just the bare minimum expenses. And then you can like live off your savings for 1 month and then automatically start that month ahead like cycle the next month. But if you are not already like if you don't have enough in the bank to kind of start already doing that, and you're like, oh, I need a system, I want something that is going to just like walk me through that process, there is a budgeting app called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. Their system, you do have to pay a monthly subscription fee for it, but their system automatically kind of helps you to create this. At least that's what I have heard from other people kind of talk about it. I personally use the worksheet that I mentioned. But if you're just like, I need something to systematically do this for me, I think that is a good option to start with. Otherwise, if you do want to use my worksheets, I do also offer a free financial office hours once a month. So I'll leave the details down there for you as well. And you can kind of show up, ask your questions. And it's just a way for me to kind of help you with any questions that you have. Kind of similar like this, but just in real time. All right. So the other thing, kind of while you're going through this, I think one thing that you did not mention, but I'm just kind of thinking back to the situations that we have found ourselves in the past, and just like when things felt so incredibly tight that there would be moments where I was just like, I'm so tired of pinching every penny. I'm so tired of like saying no. I'm so just exhausted of feeling like everyone else is living their life. They're able to experience everything that they want to, and we're sitting here sacrificing to such a degree that I'm so over it. And there would be times where I would just like, let's just drop $100 here or drop, $500 there or whatever, just because I was to such a level of frustration that I was just like, we'll let future Brianna and Dan figure that out. Like I'm just over it, right? That very much like live for right now kind of mentality. So I would say that if you can relate to that, sometimes it might be extra helpful to include in that very limited budget, even just like $10 or $20 a month of like fun money. And that fun money doesn't have to be anything super extravagant. It can be the super tiny things that at least feel like, okay, like this is worth it. Like we're still able to do something fun, even though it doesn't feel like we're sacrificing everything, even though you are sacrificing a lot. So when my husband and I were paying off my college debt, we were paying so much towards my college debt that we had like $30 for groceries a week. I remember that very specifically. And I remember that my mom had given us like a Wendy's little key fob. Like you paid a certain amount for the key fob, and then you were able to go and get like a little Wendy's Frosty, like a really tiny cup, like for free for an entire month. There was one night we were like, let's just go get Frosties. Like again, I was having this like we're sacrificing so much. I'm just so tired of it. I just want to spend money. That we got in the car, and even just the act of, okay, this is not something that we normally do. Let's say, even if we paid for it, let's say it was $1, which it might have been. That was $2 well worth it, even though like compared to what we were spending on our groceries, it was a lot, because again, $30 for two people for a week is insane. It's still insane. But having that $10 or $20 for your family to just be like, okay, like, yeah, we might not be able to order takeout, but maybe we can rent a movie and we can eat snacks on the living room floor, and maybe we can pick up like a specialty ice cream because you have a limited budget, but at least some money to say, okay, this at least is a moment where we can be creative and still feel like we're not saying no to every single experience, that it's giving us at least something to be able to say, okay, we are still living. It's not just sacrifice, 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 sacrifice. Will really help you feel like you can do it in those moments where it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so over this. So if that's not something that you're already using in your lifestyle or as part of your lifestyle, then it might be something to at least consider. I have two more things that you might find really helpful. The first one may not apply to you specifically, but it might apply to other moms who are listening, and that is to see if there's other jobs, or if there's a way for you to extend what you're doing at the clinic, in off hours, either the weekends or the evenings. I had a conversation with my boss like last year where we were talking about my hours and just like the challenges of being a mom, and had a discussion to say like, is there any opportunity that if I'm not able to, get my 40 hours in here at work, that I could like do some of my work remotely. That wasn't something that my current employer offered, and we did work out a opportunity for me to be able to do that if the need arose, and also being aware that like I don't take advantage of that, and it is very limited. Like, okay, this is very sparing, it's only if it's like needed. So having that discussion with your boss, I mean, I know you did say that you work at a clinic, so there may be some security and privacy limitations there. But if that's not possible with that job, is there another job that you could go out and get refined that would provide a little bit more stability for you, especially if you are working part-time and then you're losing a significant portion of that part-time work because your kid is sick? Like if you're only working, 20 hours a week and your child is sick for 2 days in a row, that's your entire paycheck right there, right? So sometimes needing to find another opportunity for you to have that flexibility. And I know that there are so many scams out there right now of like, oh, work from home, work on, whenever you want to. So definitely be smart in whatever it is that you pursue. I'm not suggesting an MLM. I'm really suggesting like legit employment. So that might be something that you might want to consider if you haven't already. And again, talking to your boss, because even if that opportunity is not currently there, that doesn't mean that that opportunity would not be presented, especially if you are a good employee. And maybe it doesn't mean that you work from home. Maybe it means that you come in and off hours. I don't know the situations of your job, but I definitely just want to throw that out there. And then the other thing is to really just recognize how challenging it is budgeting with irregular income. Like I've said, I've done it for several years. I've done it through several situations. It can be really challenging and really frustrating, especially when you're trying to meet certain financial goals, but it is doable. You just have to be really strategic. You have to be really thoughtful. And the fact that you guys are doing it, I just want to really commend you. And it sounds like you guys are really on board of making sure that you meet the good, like set up a good situation for your family. And honestly, that is the key, right? The fact that you're working together, that you're trying to create a really strong, stable situation for your family. Like, it's really hard, and I just really want to commend you for all of the work you're doing. So please don't forget to celebrate all of the effort that you're making, even if it doesn't feel like you're making any progress. Sometimes we just need to be like, yes, I did it. I budgeted through another week. We were able to tackle this really unexpected situation, and we did it. Like, we are doing this together. And sometimes really celebrating those super small wins just to stay encouraged and motivated. Like, life is challenging enough and so defeating and depleting that sometimes we just need to take a moment to be like, wow, let's just recognize and validate all of the really hard work that we're doing and celebrate us, even if it's just, not that you're going out and spending any money, but just be like, we're doing it, this is really hard, but we're getting through it, right? I say that to my husband fairly regularly, or sometimes I'll even tell him okay, this is something that I need to hear, just say it to me. And just having that external validation of just hearing it in someone else's voice to just validate the effort that we are doing just helps us feel seen. And I just don't want you to forget how important that is to celebrate that with your husband as well, as much as I would love to celebrate that here with you. So keep going. You're doing awesome. Now it's your turn. I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions on this topic and continue this conversation in the chat with you below. But if you would like to meet up on that financial office hours on a monthly basis, I'll leave the details for you as well. But I can't wait to hang out with you in the next one, and hopefully we will hang out again soon. But I had